Has prolonged isolation and social distancing caused people to forget how to socialize? As the pandemic keeps its grip on us, you may have heard talk of cave syndrome or of languishing. With us for some coping strategies and advice on possibly improving your mood, we're joined from Oakville, Ontario by Ramit Bilen, President and CEO of Viewpoint Leadership and an expert on psychological capital. Hi, Ramit.
Hi, Nam. Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
We're so happy you're on the show because I think a lot of us need this advice right now because there's a lot happening in the world. There are a lot of psychological terms floating around that might describe how we're feeling. The first on our list, the New York Times dubbed possibly the dominant emotion of 2021, which was languishing. What is that?
Thank you for kicking us off with that, because languishing, that includes those feelings of feeling unsettled or maybe even restless. For some people, it's not feeling as though they're motivated in order to complete their tasks. And when they do complete the tasks, they're even more drained than they were previously. So when we think about this term languishing, it's checking in with how we're feeling and where our motivation is and looking at whether or not we're feeling unproductive.
I think a lot of people, when you ask them, how are you doing? A lot of people have been saying, I'm pandemic fine, because we feel like we don't want to overwhelm people with our emotions. And another term that we're going to go over is cave syndrome. What is that?
So, cave syndrome is a little bit different than languishing. It's that feeling of anxiety or maybe even feeling uneasy getting back to those in person interactions or those social gatherings, which some people are feeling leading up to the holiday season. And so, people have been keeping in their COVID cave, and exiting that might be making them feeling anxious. Now, this could be, Nam, for a number of reasons. It could be because of adaptive reasons, it could be because of inconvenience versus symptomatic, it could be fear of public spaces, or even that emotional burden that people are carrying with them. But it's important for us to also know that this is a normal stress response to all that we've experienced in the last 644 days since the World Health Organization declared that what we're experiencing is a pandemic.
That is a long time. I've been very awkward when I meet new people because do I shake their hands? Do I do the elbow? Do I just wave from across the field? I haven't. Do you think that it's going to take a while for people to figure out how to be like before times? Or is that a problem to think about everything as in before times?
I love that question because transitions are difficult for all of us, whether we're talking about our children, youth, or even for us as grown-ups and adults. If we're transitioning back from what it is that we've gotten used to over 644 days, that's going to take time to adjust. Just as we had to adjust almost 2 years ago in doing things in new and different ways. So allowing ourselves that time to adjust is going to be important. Now, some people are feeling burnt out, and it's because we're experiencing that cost of the mental effort that's been involved in doing things in new ways, right? It's been a little bit of a roller coaster with new routines, new restrictions, new policies. And so as we transition, it is going to take time to adjust, but allowing ourselves and giving ourselves that grace is going to be important.
Well, burnout is another term that I wanted to go over with you. People are working from home. We seem to have more time in the days to get things done because we're not commuting, yet people are feeling burnt out. Why is that?
Well, our home tasks and our work tasks and even our life tasks, they're kind of competing with each other. And here's what's fascinating about burnout. This isn't the type where it's, I'm tired, I need to go rest. It's the I've rested, I've had adequate rest, and I'm still tired. It's that excessive exhaustion. And what's interesting is that in 2019, the World Health Organization actually included workplace burnout in their international classification of diseases. Now, this was pre-pandemic. Pandemic has just amplified this attention between all the different things that we have to do. And even though for some of us we're not commuting, we absolutely are filling that time, whether it's with more work or trying to get stuff done around the house or even trying to take a break for ourselves.
Another word that we've been hearing a lot is resilience, and I apologize in advance, but I'm so tired of that word, that and pivot. But you call yourself a resilience researcher. Where are you with that word now while we're in the midst of this pandemic?
Nam, you said the P word, you said pivot. But talking about resilience, many people are tired of it because it has been 644 days. It's, don't tell me I need to be resilient. We've gone through a lot, whether we're talking about COVID-19 or the echo pandemic related to our well being, our mental health, our physical health, our emotional health. We know there's been an increase in gender based violence. We know about the tragedies and the heartbreaks that have happened around the world and even in our own backyard. And people have experienced a lot. And so when we talk about resilience in the beginning, it was quite a popular term. It's how do I bounce back from these challenges? And now it's more about, okay, I'm burnt out. It's not that I need to bounce back. I just need to sometimes survive because I'm feeling like I'm in survival mode. I don't know about you, Nam, but I often feel that way too. And just get through the day or even the week. And so, yes, people are a little bit tired of the word, and the word itself encourages us to bounce back from our challenges. Now, I would actually encourage us to redefine resilience and not just bounce back, but how do we learn? How do we grow? How do we find meaning from these challenges that we've encountered?
Well, we've heard this term also used when we're talking about kids. We're saying that kids are resilient, so the situations that they might find themselves in are okay because kids are resilient. How does that term apply to children?
Well, here's the thing. Children and youth, they're burnt out just as we as adults are. They've experienced so much during this time, whether we're talking about limitations and restrictions to rec centers or libraries, activities that would have given them an outlet. And they've been through that. They've gone through this experience. There's also the uncertainty and the fear of losing a loved one, whether it's a parent, guardian, or a grandparent in their life. And so when we think about kids being resilient, yes, they are. But even before the pandemic, there were wait lists as it relates to mental health supports for youth. And what the pandemic has done is amplified the fact that we need more support. And just because children are resilient doesn't mean that they haven't experienced a lot. They have been through a lot. And then add on top of that, the shift between in-person and online and then hybrid schooling, so much uncertainty can create feelings of anxiousness for them.
And children, of course, are learning how to communicate. They're learning how to socialize. So they might not be able to verbalize why they're acting, why they're doing the things that they're doing or what they're feeling. So what should we look out for if our kids are languishing?
We want to look for a few specific signs. And the biggest thing I want to say is you want to see if there is a change in their baseline behavior. So we can look at, a lower attention span, increased irritability, lack of focus or trouble concentrating. Is there a change in their sleep patterns or even eating habits? So we want to be mindful of those things, but really focus on whether or not there's been a change in their baseline behavior.
How do we know, because I'm just going over the terms, how do we know if we have cave syndrome?
It's whether or not we're feeling reluctant to go out and engage with others. It's whether or not we're feeling reluctant to engage in activities in which we would have prior to pandemic. Thinking about and checking in with ourselves, how we're feeling about going to that social gathering or meeting this person for coffee, even if it's outdoors. That checking in piece is important because now far too often we're so busy checking in with devices and social media that we absolutely forget to check in with ourselves.
Or watching Real Housewives on a loop like me. What do we need to look out for if we're feeling burnt out?
It's again that excessive tiredness, that exhaustion, not the I need rest, it's the I've rested and I'm still tired. It's the lack of motivation or focus, and also for us as adults, that trouble concentrating. Making sure, again, we're checking in with ourselves to see how am I feeling today? It's about shifting from time management to priority management and looking at our current context, our current circumstance, and what it is that we can accomplish in the time that we're given.
I think a lot of people thought this holiday season would be very different from last year, or we were hoping that it would be different. But right now, the situation as it stands, the cases for Omicron they're surging. A lot of people have had to pivot and change plans for the holidays. But this is the situation that we are living in right now. How can we put some joy, some merriment back into our lives?
I appreciate that question, Nam. And there's so much uncertainty, especially with the new variant. This holiday, very different than last holiday. That holiday was very different than the holiday before. So I would love to offer some suggestions. The first one is to insert a routine as much as we can over the holiday season, as well as creating structured plans. And I'll tell you why. It's because it allows us to feel some sense of control, especially if we are feeling overwhelmed. Now, I'm talking about creating structured plans. Another tip is to plan the worry time. And I don't know about you, but I am a worrier. And especially during the pandemic, thinking about my family, frontline workers, students that I work with, leaders that I work with, I worry a lot. And what I've learned is that I worry about things that I can't control. So I plan that worry time, but I put a boundary around it and then switch to action. What is it in this situation that I can control? And then speaking about boundaries, ensuring that we are creating clear and drawing clear boundaries, saying no when it is that we want to, and also setting clear expectations. And when we think about all that is happening and the context is consistently changing, it's on us to redefine. And what do I mean by that? You know, we have an idea of what the ideal holiday should look like or what it should feel like, what happiness should look like or feel like, or what success should look like and feel like. We need to redefine because we created those ideas and definitions before the pandemic, but the world changed. And yet we compare ourselves to these outdated definitions. So intentionally redefining what the ideal holiday will look like this year can be helpful. And the final thing that I'll share is that we should be asking for help. We should be saying no when we have to and when we can, and ask others for help. And this can actually promote oxytocin in others when they're able to help us.
I really like the suggestion of spending, like setting 10 minutes aside and then using that 10 minutes to worry, because I'm a worrier. And then after that, moving on and doing action steps. Just one more question for you in our last minute together. What do you say to people, who might feel as if this is not what we wanted, this is going to be what it is, and I just need something to get me out of bed, something to just make me look forward to the next day, the next week, the next year?
You know, I say this to everyone, including my 5-year-old son. I always say, you've got this. And I say that because we've all proven that we've got this. It's been 644 days. We had to adjust. We had to do things in new ways. And I'm not saying it was the best case scenario, and I'm not saying it was optimal. What I'm saying is we did it. But I also say, and I would be doing a disservice if I did not add, that when you feel like you don't, that's okay too. Because there are going to be some good days, there are going to be some great days, and there are going to be some days where we don't feel like we've got this. And that is a natural stress response to what it is that we've experienced and what it is that we're experiencing. So what I would say is, yes, you've got this. But when you feel like you don't, that's okay too.
And ask for help if you need a helping hand. Rumit, thank you so much. We really appreciate your words of wisdom and spending time with us tonight. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Nam. Take good care.
You too.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.